guys, welcome back to EE Tech Reviews. Today we're going to have some interesting news rounded up from December 2020. And we're going to look at 3 interesting articles, try to point out why it's cool, how it affects you, maybe as an investor if you're looking to get into some companies. And let's start off with the first article here. It's a very interesting piece of consumer tech. It's actually a speaker. It's made by Novedo. It's an Israeli company. And they use an interesting technique called sound beaming. What the point is that it's basically having the same experience as headphones, but using a speaker. And similar to beamforming, which is a way in which antennas can direct RF signals directly to phones, this is the same thing, except they're using ultrasonic waves, and it creates 3D sensory listening. Basically, if you scroll down here, they use their own special DSP chips. They're using, as you see here, ultrasonic waves, meaning higher frequency above the human hearing. But by bringing enough energy in a specific straight line, they're able to create audible stereo sound, just like a speaker. So what makes it different? It creates a whole vast new use case, right? You're able to hear audio without having headphones on. Maybe you don't want to wear headphones. Enjoy audio without disturbing others. So think of a busy office. No one likes to have their speaker on. You don't want to be that guy where they're blasting their audio call or their voice call, their conference throughout the entire office. Now the speaker's directed directly at them. No one else in the same room is going to hear it unless they're in direct line of sight where their ears are. So it's cool. It does track where your ears are. It directs the beams directly at your ears. They say clear voice. And then as it hits a certain distance away from your ears, it becomes unclear and then eventually inaudible. So which is cool. You can use it for video conferencing. Think of being in the same room with someone watching TV. Think of driving and you have a personal call, or you want to just play your own music to just yourself. Fitness, don't need to wear those headphones. I think it's a really cool piece of tech. It's a small speaker. They're able to track where your ears are and they blast ultra high frequency waves to it. It's not going to come to consumers yet, but it's on its way. I think it's a cool piece of tech and definitely look out for it in the future. Second, let's go to the second article here. And I'm going to talk about Apple. They just came out with the M1 chips. I did a review of those in the previous video. But I guess the major idea is that obviously Apple is working on future chips. They already had the A14 Bionic for the iPhone 12. They're already talking about 5 nanometer processes for the lithography to making chips from TSMC. And they're saying they're going for even smaller. Other plans, A15 for the next set of iPhones next year, 5 nanometer plus. So they're shrinking the distance between transistors. They're also making obviously faster processors. And what's interesting is that they said that this same tech is going to be used for the M1 chip, but perhaps they're going to look into making M1X, M2 chips in the future. And we do know that there's going to be 14-inch, possibly a 16-inch model next year, Q2, late Q3, Q4, for even the iMac and the MacBook Pro. Now, at minimum, it sounds like a 12-core processor. So they're taking their original 4 performance, 4 high efficiency, and they're going 12 cores at minimum, 8 high performance, 4 efficiency. And again, this is probably coming first to the MacBook Pro 16. And just a general point that people might be missing, Apple wasn't able to take on Intel and AMD in terms of processor speed and stuff overnight. This was not a one-time deal. This is a multi-billion-dollar company years prior sitting down saying, we're going to make our own chips. We want control of the manufacturing, the design, the power management, how the socket physically sits on our boards. They have total control. They wanted it. This is years of development. They had years of practice doing the A chips for the iPhones. And I've seen things saying up to possibly 20 cores for next year's model. That would be fantastic. They're literally going to blow them out of the water. So if you're thinking of, hey, who do I invest in right now? I'm going to recommend Apple. I don't see their sales dropping. I only see them exploding for the next couple of years because they're innovating. They're making new chips. They're making new devices. And based on the numbers from what we've seen, they're going to blow them out of the water. Does that mean don't buy the M1? I'm going to say, no, you should definitely look into getting it still. It's still a revolutionary device. But if you're saying, hey, I don't need to get a computer right now, then I would hold off, get next year's model. I think it's going to be a whole refresh design with a way faster, more optimized version of the chip that they just released, especially with the only 2 USB-Cs. That's definitely a hardware limitation. That's a timing issue. That's them rushing to get this product out after years of development. They need to get some return on their initial investment. One other really quick one here. Apple's researching matte black. Pretty cool. They mentioned some Vanta black type references. Apple's solution appears to be tantamount to existing true black solutions such as Vanta black. So it's cool. They're going to have a patent out for their own special black color, and it'd be nice to have another option. Third important article. This is fantastic. I'm not going to get too into it. If people are more interested, we can get more into it. But this is a patent from Sony talking about a system for dual GPU, APU, CPU, whatever you want to call it, management for their next possible future Sony PS5 Pro, maybe. But they talk about 2 devices, a lower end and a higher end. And I can read this real quick because this is very interesting. A multi-GPU simulation environment. Frame buffer management may be implemented by multiple GPUs rendering respective frames of video or by running respective portions of each frame of video. One of the GPUs controls HDMI frame output by virtue of receiving frame information from the other GPU, reading out complete frames through a physically connected HDMI port, where the outputs of the GPUs can be multiplexed together. I'm not going to go through everything, but the next system, they're focusing on the console itself, which you can see, and the idea that it's going to be a perfect device for cloud gaming. PS Now is pretty good, but I think they're going to take it up a step in the future and definitely get into more cloud-based management. And to do that, you're going to need a lot of processing capability to get that data over the web. All right, so what's the point of caring about this new patent that's coming out? One, dual GPUs. Instantly, you can already say you're going to have way more processing power. You're going to have the ability to have way higher frame rates, faster loading times, probably more smooth picture, etc. But the idea is that it's scalable. This is a patent for scalable game console GPU, CPU, which is basically an APU, both combined, for home gaming, consoles, and cloud gaming. We're not going to get too deep into this, but the implications are huge. So what's the importance of this? It kind of details how 2 graphic processor units can work together to either generate one single frame simultaneously or to take what needs to be shown on the screen, the frame, split it into 2 separate feeds, right? Like a division of labor, and then push those out, either have them do them independently or have both their outputs come together, muxed together into one and then read it out. You can have one specific GPU do a bunch of the frame management. You can have both do it. You can have their outputs go to a frame buffer, so sending their information both to the same location in memory first. There's also high-end variants that they talked about with faster storage, 2 GPUs. Similarly, it can be like the PS4 and the PS4 Pro configuration where there's a base model and then a higher GPU model. They also talk about adding plenty of sensors in here, like the NFC sensor, GPS, IR blasters, biosensors, weather sensors, etc. The devices can then be linked to the console and enable cloud computing and cloud gaming. We don't know what the sensors are for, but it's just the idea that they can work together. And that's it, guys. Just 3 interesting, cool articles that I think people need to know about. We talked about a fancy new speaker for sound beaming for your own personal audio without headphones. We talked about Apple, their new processors, their matte black finish. And then thirdly, we talked about Sony with a fancy new patent for a possible Pro model in the future using multiple GPUs. It's going to have way more speed, and it has its own special way in which it's then able to render frames in the fastest way possible. If you like this video, please subscribe, and I'll look forward to giving you more news updates in the next coming months.